Fridays at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from offseason to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we're here with the news of the week so far.
Sure.
There's always something with 49ers, and there's some more coming out. And we got some stuff to talk about as we prepare to get ready for the Indianapolis Colts game.
Plenty of things to talk about, lots of things to talk about, so make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. That notification bell down there looks like a bell. You hit it, it lets you know when videos get posted on this channel, which is daily at 11 a.m.s. And then, throughout the week, different times. Mondays early in the week, you got 9 a.m. videos. Fridays at 9 a.m., you got game simulations. You got a little bit of a game preview show coming out today at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. You don't want to miss that. 2 o'clock tomorrow, you got Jay in the Bay. What's good? You got Know Your Opponent as well after that. I mean, there's so much great content coming up, and they don't want to miss any of it. But let's start with some player updates for the 49ers, and specifically guys that are dealing with injuries in San Francisco. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo with the calf, he was limited in practice. Marcel Harris, limited in practice. But there was a gentleman, Ant, who practiced in full, coming back from injury. Everyone, welcome back. And Ant, you can welcome back Javon Williams. Yay! Woo, Shark!
Welcome back, the Shark. This is going to be huge. Finally, we get him back in the nickel role where he's, really good. Yeah. And we just saw when he wasn't right, he got beat on that one play and he wasn't right against Green Bay and he's been out. It'll be nice to have him back. It'll stabilize this secondary, and we inch closer to getting the 49ers back to full strength.
Oh.
We're just Dre Greenlaw away from getting it to where we'll have everyone except, for Jason Verrett. So, and we know Verrett's out for the year, but that means we'll have everyone back that can possibly come back and play. So that is nice, especially for your starting unit. And that's what you're trying to do, is have the starting unit be the best that it can be. Josh Norman has done a fair job. Let's see if he can continue, even improve on that as we get farther and farther into the season. But I'm starting to get excited about it because Javon Williams is a big part of this defense and a big part of what the 49ers like to do. Having him back is going to be important. And with the 49ers signing Michael Kendricks, maybe this whole thing is getting stabilized on the defensive side. They've already been putting out great performances. Maybe now they'll put out outstanding performances.
I'll take it. I'll take outstanding performances, my guy. But look, Jimmy Garoppolo, he was limited in practice, but Kyle Shanahan's optimistic that this guy is going to be able to go and good to go, especially with Trey Lance not practicing, DNPing yesterday. Concerned at all about Trey, or is this pretty much expected with him dealing with a knee sprain? They're going to definitely try and protect this kid.
I think what Kyle Shanahan said was if he was ready to go later in this week, that they would put him out there. I still think he's the best option for the 49ers as the backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
So, if he's able to play, you go ahead and you get him out there. But if he's not, then, you take that route where you're just cautious and you don't put him out there, you don't rush it. But I do think that they're optimistic and hopeful that you're going to get these two guys out there. But I know Kyle said maybe next week, so we'll see. But Jimmy's going to be able to play this week. They made him limited. That's only because he was going to go out and test it, but he said he felt good. So I'm expecting him to be a full participant in practice the rest of the week.
A couple of the clips that I saw him rolling out and stopping, setting his feet, resetting, and throwing deep, he looked fine. It looked like he's moving fine. Didn't look like he's laboring at all. He's definitely driving off the back foot and pushing off of it.
Nice.
Which is good because when he's not doing that, it's definitely an airmail. When he doesn't have that lower half dialed in and he can't push off of, especially that back foot, that plant foot, that's not good for Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, as soon as his technique falters, then you lose some of the greatness that is Jimmy. He still has the elite release. But when his bottom half isn't right, then that's when he throws the ball errantly. And when he throws it errantly, he throws into tight windows already. So then he throws it to defenders. And we can't have that happen. We can't have him turning the ball over. We need to make sure that he's right. So when he gets into the right positions, he can get the ball out to these receivers and let them create in space. Where these guys are very talented, can make a lot of plays. So Jimmy being healthy is a big part and a big thing that we needed to happen to be able to beat the Colts, and it looks like that is going to happen. Hopefully we get some good news on Trey as well, because I'd like to have both of those guys be dressed and ready to go in this football game.
I want both. I don't want one to not be available. When Jimmy wasn't available in Trey Lance this week, it hurt. It hurt the 49ers. Having both guys at your disposal, being able to do both things, is huge. It's huge for this football team. It makes teams have to prepare for both. It gives you a variety of ways that you can attack a defense in short down situations, long down situations. There's a lot of different looks that you can throw at guys. I am happy that Jimmy Garoppolo is getting closer to healthy, and I know Thanos had asked him, "Hey, are you going to be 100% by game day?" And Jimmy's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking so. I'm hoping so." You're hardly ever 100% at any point in the NFL season.
Yeah.
After you start that week 1 game, I'll take 90% Jimmy Garoppolo as long as that 90% is all of him except all of him, including that back plant leg ant. Then I'm feeling good.
No one plays at 100% in this league.
True.
Absolutely no one.
Accurate.
So that is
unless you're Josh Gordon coming in halfway through the year.
Maybe not even then, because he's had to work out to get healthy.
Also true.
And I mean, that's the thing. You come in late and you're going to have issues down the road. You might feel good at first, but things can pop up if you don't do it the right way. So I don't know why anyone would ask if you're going to feel 100%. There's no one in the NFL that's going to feel 100%. I bet you most players scoff at this. That is one of those ones where Marshawn Lynch says, "I'm just here so I don't get fined."
I'm here so I don't get fined. I'm hoping for a Kyle Shanahan presser where he just starts rolling with that.
I just want him to do his chuckle.
And that too. The chuckle's hilarious. It's a great chuckle, man.
Yeah.
If you were on Patreon and saw Big Yikes this week, then you got a lot of that chuckle when we were talking about it earlier.
It's true.
So you should head on over to Patreon as well. You can get a good look at Big Yikes and have a good laugh, and maybe a Kyle Shanahan chuckle. You can work on it and get as good as Ant over there. Look, other practice news updates in terms of player statuses. We'll save the big one, Kinlaw, for a second.
Okay.
But Trent Williams was another one that was DNP for the 49ers, dealing with an ankle, dealing with a little bit of an elbow.
Right.
Concerned?
No, I don't think so. I think the fact that he played against Arizona, he got hurt in the game previous. So playing against Arizona means he's probably healthy enough to go. It's just one of those things where you're trying to take care of it and make sure he's a veteran. He doesn't need a ton of practice. He can go out there 1 or 2 days and just knock it off. Knock off the rust, I'm saying.
It's true.
But hopefully he's more closer to 100% than he is right now. We'll see. They're definitely taking it easy on him, but the main thing is making sure Trent is out there because they can use him this week. And I think if he is out there, it's going to be real bad for the Colts defensive line because Kwity Paye is not ready for Trent Williams.
No.
That's a bad situation. There's some bad matchups for the Colts defensive line and some good ones for the 49ers offensive line. So I'm excited about Trent. I think he's going to be fine. I think the statements that he made this week indicate a leader who's taking a leadership role and a guy who's planning on being out there on.
Agreed with you there, Ant. I don't think he has any intention to miss this football game. Yeah. When I saw his name on the list, it was surprising in the sense that because he had just made those comments, I expected him to be out of practice, but not me going, "Oh God, we're not going to have Trent Williams. This is panic, 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 warning, warning,
Wait.
warning."
But should we be worried anyways? Because we have Jalen Moore, who is ready to start over Mike McGlinchey. He could fill in no problem for Trent Williams, right? Thought I'd throw it out there. So that's what's being floated.
Next. Look, before we get to Javon Kinlaw and what's going on with his knee, we got to talk about the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah.
We don't typically player status update on other teams.
Not ultimately, no.
Not typically, because we're the 49ers cutback.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about this because it's a lot of names on their injury report.
It's lengthy.
It's long. It's not as long as the Cleveland Browns and whoever it is they're playing on Thursday night this week. Both those teams are depleted. They're going to be almost playing with practice squads, basically. But you had Julian Blackmon, their safety, and Andrew Sendejo limited in practice. Sendejo dealing with the concussion stuff from last week, and Blackmon dealing with an Achilles issue. That's a little scary.
It might be a tendonitis.
Could be a tendonitis thing. But DNPs on Wednesday. T.Y. Hilton dealing with the quad. Darius Leonard dealing with an ankle and a knee. Tyquan Lewis dealing with an elbow. Kwity Paye dealing with a hamstring. Braden Smith dealing with a foot thumb. Kamoko Toure dealing with groin. Jordan Wilkins dealing with a non-football illness. And Rock Ya-Sin dealing with an ankle. That's a lot of key pieces on defense, Ant.
Yeah, I think that is a big concern for the Colts, is they haven't been able to stay healthy in the secondary. Xavier Rhodes was out. Now he's back. Rock Ya-Sin comes back last week. He gets hurt again and re-injures the ankle. That doesn't spell good things for them. And then anytime you're dealing with quadriceps and hamstrings, you just never know. So you got Kwity Paye dealing with that. If he's out, they really lose any chance they have of a speed rush because they just don't have a lot of speed rush guys. So I think the 49ers are sitting in a good spot where they are going to have potential to have success on both the offensive and defensive side. And the Colts are struggling a little bit. And this is what happens during the season. I know it's been hyper-publicized how bad the 49ers injuries are, But as you can see, this happens all throughout the league. Everyone's dealing with injuries. You brought up the Browns, tons of injuries, and sometimes they sweep through. It doesn't mean it's a training staff. It doesn't mean it's a regimen. Sometimes it just hits you this way. Sometimes it's circumstance of playing in certain games. A lot of the injuries come from contact, some of them from non-contact. These guys are big guys who are pushing their bodies to the absolute limits every single day. At some point, something's going to give out.
Sure.
And for some people, it happens more often than others. And sometimes there's no way to know when it's going to happen. So it's unfortunate that guys get hurt because I think we'd like to see every single team come out there at 100% and play. But it's not going to happen. It's the NFL. It's a war of attrition. We're going to see who comes out on the right side of it. And, if some of those injuries that are not bad go to benefit the 49ers, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it because we were on the other end of it last year.
That's right, man. We were seriously on the other end of it last year. But every team has to deal with this.
Yep.
Every team. This is not new to San Francisco. This isn't new to the league. This isn't, crazy. This is just the reality of football. This is what football is. And what you don't get a lot of now, and this is where I see a lot of people talk, well, yeah, but I see more people getting hurt in the NFL. No, things have changed in terms of reporting, what is actually considered an injury, what it is that you're trying to manage.
Football's different.
It's a different sport than it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago for that matter. Injuries now are looked at heavily. Little nicks are looked at heavily. You will sit out or be limited in practice for things that you would have been expected to suck it up, rub some dirt in, and get your butt back out there, kid. Things have changed. The game's changed in terms of how you take care of your body, what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's for the positive, and in some areas for the negative, because sometimes, you just want guys to be able to push through things and get things done. But these guys are also thinking about longevity. There's a lot of money on the line, a lot of things at stake for a lot of these guys all the time. So playing through stuff isn't always the best thing. This is why the 49ers shut down George Kittle. They don't want him pushing through this, and that's why we love him so much, is he'll play through it. He doesn't care. He'll play through it until the wheels fall off, until his body fails him. He has it's reckless abandon for George Kittle, and that's why Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch feel they have to, protect this guy, because he won't protect himself sometimes.
Yeah, and the emphasis on injuries definitely has changed. And I think a lot of it started with concussions, the recognition of concussions can be very bad for you in the future. We used to call it we got our bell rung. I don't know how many times that, I got smacked in football and saw stars, and I just got my bell rung, and I got back up, and I went in there and played. I'm sure you had Ronnie Lott, for God's sake, that cut off, the end of his finger, so he had less of time that he had to miss. If he had surgery to, keep it, then he was going to miss the rest of the season. Cut it off, he only misses a little bit of time. So what's he do? He cuts it off and he plays. It's a different animal, it's a different type of football. But also, in the same regard, players are bigger, faster, and stronger now than they ever were before. These guys are getting really close to looking like NBA players, but with extra size. It's kind of ridiculous how big and physical and fast they are. So I think it's just the way of the world. You got a field that hasn't gotten any bigger, but players that have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger are going to get harder hitting.
You making a pitch, Ant?
Yeah, maybe they should make the field a little bit wider. I would just say that. But yeah, I think that is a normal thing, and injuries are going to happen. It's a part of the game. Being able to navigate and manage your injuries with bringing in other players is going to be something that these front office people are going to have to do. It's like playing chess, man. You're going to have to maneuver your guys and keep certain pieces in certain places.
True.
So it has changed the game, but it's level for everyone. Everyone has the same situations and circumstances. They're dealing with the same information. Just, are you going to get lucky? Are you going to be able to pull it off? And if you are, you have a chance to win everything. And if you don't, you're going to have bad years like 2020 where the 49ers are gone.
Yeah, and we don't want any of those. We don't. No more of those. Last year was rough. It was rough here in the pod. It was rough. It was just rough.
We got some great quotes about Nick Mullins and stuff, though.
It's true.
Having the rhythm of me dancing to Ice Ice Baby.
Boom, 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 boom. Don't want to get demonetized or copyright strike. Yeah. We High Vanilla Ice. Just don't do it. It's not worth it.
Well, he's the one that got demonetized because he stole the beat.
Touche, Ant. I wasn't thinking about that, but hey, I was cold as ice.
Well, stop, collaborate, and listen.
That was cold as ice, though. Listen, look, Kinlaw's knee, though. We got to talk about this a little bit and what's going on, because some more news is coming out about this. Kyle talked about this a little bit as well, and what he's dealing with and the setback that's been going on. Kinlaw, this is an unfortunate situation because Kyle talked about now and revealed a little bit that this is maybe not stunting his development, right? But it's definitely put a pause on some of the areas of his game that they thought they were going to be able to improve upon, because he's been having to basically, rehab from this knee and the surgery that he had longer than they expected, longer than they anticipated, and now they're having to manage it, and they're going to have to be managing it throughout this whole season.
Yeah, I think it's real simple. So he got hurt let's give everyone the timeline. He got hurt in Dallas last year. He ends up, at the end of the year having a surgery to clean it out. They clean it all up. And then he had a setback in his recovery. And because of that setback, he hasn't been able to improve the way and the rapid pace that they wanted him to improve in this offseason working with Chris Kasarik. He just hasn't been able to do it. It's unfortunate. And now they're in a full management tech, where they have to just get him out there every week. So their whole goal is to make sure that he's out in practice, or that when he's not practicing, he's just, being able to play in the games. And because he doesn't have those practice reps, he's not going to improve during the season. So it has slowed his growth. There are things he can still improve on, whether that's hand placement, getting stronger, all of those things. Also recognition of understanding where, players are going to be at certain times. But there are technique things that he's just not going to be able to get better, and that's going to stunt his growth. So everyone that's, not seeing him take a meteoric rise this year, that appears to be the reason why. And what Kyle Shanahan said is it's a big concern for him. And the fact that it's a big concern for Kyle Shanahan, it should be a big concern for everyone that he's not able to develop at the pace they want him to develop. And hopefully he has a better offseason and he's able to do it next year, because we need big things from this guy for this defense to be as successful as they want it to be.
Next question for you then. And this is something I've been tossing around in my head ever since I read this article and saw what Kyle had to say. And, myself, red flags and concerns and issues and things of that nature. If the Niners start losing some games and playoffs are out of the picture, do you shut them down for the season, tell them to go get everything cleaned up, let's start your rehab early, and make sure that you're good to go for week 1 next year?
1,000%. Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you reach a point where the season's a wash and you're not going to be able to win, you don't keep, managing this guy and then putting him out there on Sundays with the risk of something else happening. You shut him down, you let him recover, and then you start playing for next year. I mean, I think that's what will happen at a lot of positions, right? You'll see Daniel Brunskill come out of the game, and you'll see Aaron Banks go in.
100%.
The 49ers will start moving people around strategically to get young people. Josh Norman will be off the field. Diamondre Lenore will be on the field, because you'll want those rookies to get those key reps, but that's only if the season's out of reach. You're playing for this season. You're still playing to get to the playoffs and a chance to win a Super Bowl. Right now, you're still in that mix because you haven't lost enough games to be out of it. Until you are, you're not going to make that adjustment. But if it comes to that point, they'll make those decisions. They'll shut down certain people.
True.
Players like D Ford and other guys like that will be shut down as well. And they'll make sure that they're putting guys out there that need reps and can get better. And the guys that need to heal up and stay healthy, they'll pull them off and they'll start preparing for next year. Let's hope it doesn't get to that. Let's hope that we're pushing for the playoffs and ultimately a playoff run, because I really don't want this season to be over early. I'm one of those guys that still believes we can win right now, and winning right now is something that they need to focus on, because there's some older guys that are on this football team that want to win. Players like Alex Mack, who's been very vocal about wanting to win. That's why he came here, to win Super Bowls. And if you think veterans want to come here, they do. But the reason is because they think the 49ers are going to compete every year. They trust Kyle Shanahan. They trust his front office.
Yep.
So the 49ers need to prove it. They need to make the playoffs. They need to make a run. And they need to prove to other veterans that, no, this is a landing spot you want to be at to play. But no, you're right. If something happens and they start falling by the wayside, they're going to shut him down.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was feeling. And I was talking to a couple of people who said, no, that'd be silly. He's a young guy. He needs to play. He needs to develop. You just got to get him out there and get those reps and hope he can push through it. And I was like, I'm not in that boat. I'm not in that category. I understand how important reps are, but if he's not able to practice and work on the things that he needs to work on in practice, then you're just throwing this guy out there with the tools that he has at his disposal already that he can't add to, and hoping for the best. I mean, that seems like a recipe for disaster. That's essentially what happened last year. I mean, you put him out there and made him play an exorbitant amount of snaps that he really wasn't ready to handle. I mean, he did fine. He did fine, and as the year progressed, he improved and got better.
Yeah.
But I only could have imagined how well he would have looked at the end of last season if he wasn't playing 90% of snaps last season, if he wasn't having to do that. How fresh his legs would be, how comfortable he would have been. And, part of the reason he has the injury is, like you said, it happened in Dallas last year. He played a lot of snaps and a lot of reps up to that point. If he's not playing that many, maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe that's not the case. That's not a defensive fault. That's not a Saleh fault. That's not a Kyle fault. That's a circumstance fault. He had a bunch of guys go down on the D-line, and he was asked and forced to step in and fill a much larger role than anyone could have possibly anticipated for him. And that's why the 49ers made the move that they made this offseason to grab those people. And welcome Patricia DeShields to the Cutback crew, newest subscriber. Thank you. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying.
Very much so. Welcome, Patricia. And you're right. I mean, it would have been a lot different if Solomon Thomas wouldn't have got hurt and thrusted Kinlaw into the starting role, where he would have gotten, a lot of extra reps, against as a rotational piece.
Yep.
And they've been able to go out there and put out high intensity over a shorter amount of time, 20 snaps a game. Whatever that was, his development would have been different. But it didn't work out that way, and he got thrust out there. And that's why sometimes rookies, when you draft them, they need to be developed. Not every single rookie can go out there and start day one and play at a high level. And anytime you have an opportunity to develop in a slow pace, why wouldn't you just do that, handle it the right way? But yeah, Kinlaw is an interesting guy. I mean, I think I said way early in the season that I thought this is what they're going to do with him the whole year, just manage him throughout the week, and then he'll play on Sundays.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that he's not going to have the development that we want, because I think that, he really can develop into a beast. He's a freak physical, nut. I mean, he really is. He's really crazy. The guy out there, he throws around double teams. He plays physical. He's a joy to watch. I just think we haven't seen the full potential, and now we know why. Yep. Number one, he's probably playing at, not even close to 100%.
I'm going to be honest and say probably closer to 60, dude.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be 60, 65%.
And he's not playing to that level. I mean, we've seen him run. He's not as fast as we had seen him, in the past. But let's see what he does the rest of the season. Maybe it gets to a point, too. Sometimes your knee starts, you get used to playing at a certain level with certain limitations, and you can overcome those limitations. Let's see if he develops any during the season, and any of the hand placement and all that. He said he was learning from Nick Bosa and Dee Ford about hand placement and how they do those things. Those things are invaluable, and those things that can help him a long way. So let's see what happens. But yeah, it wasn't a great sign that they said that, but ultimately nothing that I hadn't already kind of thought was, going on.
I think you and I were both hoping that it wasn't as bad as we were both thinking it was, because you said long ago that this was going to be something they managed all season. And I was sitting there going, well, maybe it's just something they can manage through the bye, and then we get through the bye. And he's like, all right, I'm good now. I had that break, had enough time now. We've been managing, doing a good job. That extra week off would help. It looks like it's the opposite. It's going to be a season-long thing. This is just something that he has to deal with. It's a surgery he had, complications, setbacks. And, now we're in this boat. We're in this ship, and there is no getting out of it. The cards have been dealt. This is the hand that we have to play. This is the hand Kinlaw has to play. Seems to be doing just fine with what they've been doing so far. So the plan's obviously working for him. Let's hope they can figure out a plan for Jalen Hurd also.
Yeah, you brought him up.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think at some point we're gonna have to figure out what's going on with him. Right now they haven't done anything with it. No practice window being opened. Really no conversation about what is going on with him. So as of right now, he's completely on the back burner, behind the curtain, as it would say, because right now he doesn't look like he's going to play any prominent role in this season. Hopefully he does. I think that if he had no chance of coming back, they already would have put him on permanent IR, or they already would have made some sort of a move, and they haven't done that. So it means there is still hope. But when is that going to be? Maybe it's after this game. We'll see. But it seems like we're just always waiting, and it just never.
That's how it feels. And I know that's how a lot of 49ers fans feel, that we want to think about it or talk about it. I understand. I get it. But he's always going to be an option until he's no longer on this roster.
That is true.
So you have to at least be prepared for it. The coaches all had some comments, and they talked about this team a little bit. And I thought the interesting comment was from Kyle Shanahan. Someone had asked, basically about execution and just, what's been going on. Is it specific places, players, just down distance situations? And Kyle said it's accumulation. The answer to the question is in your own question. It's not just one thing. It's a lot of different things, whether that's guys dropping passes, missing blocks, not executing properly, pitch and catch not there. We're not finding the right receivers. Went through the whole list of things that we've been saying now for weeks, and in the All-22 film previews on Patreon, and then coming back here to the daily episodes and talking about it, and people yelling at the mean ocean and telling us how wrong we are, and that's Kyle Shanahan's fault. Then you had Alex Mack's comments, you had Trent Williams' comments, and now Kyle reiterating the same thing, right? Obviously, there's things I can clean up, and there's things I could do different and put guys in different situations. But at the end of the day, we have opportunities. We're not capitalizing.
When Kyle starts making mistakes through scheme, is when he's trying to make up for deficiencies of his roster or his players, not execute. As a play caller, you'll do that. Things aren't working. You're like, you know what? I'm going to make something happen. So you go for it on fourth down more times than you really wanted to, or use like the Kyle Juszczyk play again, right? Because he's trying to make something happen. He's trying to put one of his playmakers, in an opportunity to be successful.
Make a play.
Unfortunately, what you really want as a play caller is just everyone to execute what they're supposed to do. And really, it's not everyone, but it's more than not, right? And you want some plays where everyone executes. You get everyone to execute, and then you have a big-time play. The 49ers haven't been able to get that consistently. And what you have is different guys making mistakes at different times, and then costly mistakes happening at different times. Whether that is just, like you said, missing someone or then missing a block or whatever. And it all plays into it. And unfortunately, you need more consistency from all 11 players on the field. And if you get more consistency, you'll get better consistent play. It has less to do with Kyle Shanahan and more to do with the execution. The players understand that. Whether that is chemistry, whether that is just them, not executing, getting in the wrong mindset, whether it's a defensive scheme that they haven't been able to crack yet. And I'm talking about the players because they've been coached right because we've seen them being put into the right positions to be successful. They just haven't executed it themselves. So I think there's a combination of things that go into it. Kyle Shanahan's completely right. Coaching through the years, I've seen situations like this. It's like, yeah, we call the right play 1,000 times, but if this guy doesn't execute, it's never going to work. That's what happens to Kyle Shanahan. And then you find yourself trying to overcompensate for those mistakes and trying to make something happen, and then you can make a mistake yourself. He's done a pretty good job of not doing that. It's only been a little couple of glimmers. But really, you're right. It's execution. They have to get back to it. And if they execute at a high level, they're going to win football games.
Correct. They're going to win football games. That's something they will do. And I have faith. I have faith that they can get that done and dial that in. And some gentleman, he has a gauntlet, bunch of stones that say the same things he says. He talked about maybe the execution problems being because there's two different playbooks, Ant, because you have two different style quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I find it funny. Because wasn't he the same guy that was also complaining at the beginning of the year that they weren't running the Trey Lance offense, that there was no Trey Lance offense at all? He was just having him do the Jimmy stuff.
Yeah.
Seems very contradictory of him to then turn around and say, well, maybe some of the execution stuff is because you have two different style quarterbacks.
Well, I think also what it does is it shows level of knowledge of football.
Accurate.
Because if you're saying that Colin Kaepernick and Trey Lance are the same quarterback,
you're wrong.
You're completely wrong. That's apples and oranges. They're completely different.
They're both fruits, but they're not the same fruit.
Yeah, 100%. Because Trey Lance is able to operate in the pocket. He ran a pro-style offense in college. Colin Kaepernick ran a pistol offense, a college-style offense, and was predicated traditionally on the read option and running. And Colin Kaepernick was a 1-2 read guy and go, where Trey Lance is going to be a progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to be able to read the whole thing.
Accurate.
They're different styles of quarterback. Colin Kaepernick created completely with his legs. Trey is going to extend plays with his legs.
Difference.
There is a difference between the two guys. When Kyle Shanahan was making his comments in 2017, he was explaining that he was planning, and remember at the time, he's planning on going with a Hoyer. He's planning on eventually going to Kirk Cousins. That's his whole plan in 2017. He knows when Cousins is going to be up as a free agent. That is his goal. So he has a traditional style of quarterback that he wants. So he drafts C.J. Beathard, who fits that style of quarterback play. Colin Kaepernick doesn't fit what he sees his offense looking like. Now,
think about too what Harbaugh did with that system. Once Cap took over, the system changed.
100%.
They didn't run the same things that they were running with Alex Smith. And eventually that ends up catching up to San Francisco to an extent, and Colin's injuries also mount up, and that leads to him and his level of play declining. But you're not wrong there. With what Kyle Shanahan wants to run system-wise, yes, some of it works. Some of it works with Cap, but not all of it works. He's not as successful when you have him drop back in the pocket and sit there. He does like to make plays with his feet more often than he made plays with his arm. It's not like he couldn't make plays with his arm.
Yeah.
He very well could, but he was at his best when he was making plays with his feet. Trey isn't that. Trey can make some plays with his feet, but he keeps things alive and extends things.
It also changes things because Kyle Shanahan was coming in 2017 as a new regime. Colin Kaepernick is a leftover from the old regime and a guy that's going to command some money. So by him opting out, you don't have that salary on your books. You can go out and get the players that you want to get as you're building a brand new franchise in your image, you and John Lynch. That's number one. Then also, why can't Kyle Shanahan change his opinion a little bit as football changes? 2017 is 5 years ago. So
it's a long time, man.
He can't be in a division with Russell Wilson, with Kyler Murray.
Playing in a Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes.
And looking at, you know what, I need somebody that can also extend plays with their legs. I need someone that's more than a pocket passer and change his mind. 100% you should be allowed to do that. He's not putting in a different offense, though. He's expecting Trey Lance to operate his offense and then have little things that Trey can do well off of that are extensions of his offense that he's had before, because in 2012 he had RG3.
Branches, Ant? You mean branches off of the playbook that still implement the same terminology,
right,
have the same
That's
philosophy, same scheme, same ideas, right? You just take his strengths, you find a way to add it into what you already do, and then you take your playbook and you just make it a little bit bigger. Just a little bigger, not a lot bigger, just a little bit.
Well, I think that's what people don't understand about offense is playbooks evolve continuously every single year. You start with a base, and then it completely evolves. In OTAs, that's why when people are saying Trey picked up the whole offense, he picked up the base offense. There are all kinds of other sects and stuff off of it that you have to have and be ready for.
Tons of other sects, tons of other sections. There's tons of other ways to take the base offense and then dress it up so it doesn't look like the base offense. It may still function like the base offense. It may be a base play that's the same, but there's 3 or 4 moving parts that weren't there before, different formations, different sets, audibles, motions, pre-snap. There's tons of things that go into it. I'm glad that Trey picked up the base, the foundation. That's wonderful. That's great. But that's a very small chunk of what is in Kyle's playbook. And this is what you and I kept saying, is there's no way right now that Trey can have a grasp of this, even a decent grasp of this. It's too vast. It's too complex. There's too much. There's way too much. The only advantage that Jimmy Garoppolo had over Trey Lance in terms of learning the offense was he came from a pro system already. He had already spent a number of years in the NFL learning terminology, learning plays, schemes, formations, defenses, reads, audibles, checks, all of those things. He spent 5 years under Brady, for God's sakes. Trey didn't spend 5 years under Brady. Trey's coming fresh out of college and after a full year of not playing college football. Like, there's a vast difference between the advantages and disadvantages. Trey is coming into a great situation at a huge disadvantage. Jimmy came into a good situation with a great advantage. That's why Jimmy blossomed quick and why Trey's going to take some time to develop, and that's okay. That's okay. But to sit there, Thanos, and say the reason there's execution issues is because you're trying to run 2 different offenses. No, guy, you wanted them to run 2 different offenses. They've been running one offense the whole time, and now you're backtracking. What a surprise.
Well, the problem is everyone thought they had to run 2 offenses. You don't have to run 2 offenses. Steve Young didn't run a different offense from Joe Montana.
Accurate.
Yet he had tremendously more athletic ability. I mean, he was basically a running back with one heck of an arm.
True. And
he eventually developed into a great quarterback. We just have to give it time, and I think Trey Lance is on that same trajectory. And once his full potential is realized in this offense, he's going to light things up in a big way, and he's going to be on that meteoric rise of these other guys that you just mentioned that we talked about, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and Patrick Mahomes. But that's down the road. That's not right now.
Nope.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of times we want to simplify offense in the NFL. This is completely complex. These football players are tremendously intelligent. The way they're able to take in all that information each week as the game plan changes and different parts of the offense are implemented, and then go ahead and execute it against a defensive scheme where you think you know what you're going to see, but you're not 100% sure, and then adjust on the fly. It is impressive. These guys are outrageously, impressive, and that's why Trey Lance going out there, he might understand what his concepts and offensive concepts, but how to implement them against a defense that he's going to see. And if there's any sort of movement or they throw anything at him, it makes the learning curve even harder. And then sometimes you're just a tick off and you miss something, and it happens to everyone. That's why the best quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, can be thrown off. Kyler got thrown off by the 49ers defense just 2 weeks ago. So this is something that's real, and I think people oversimplify how easy it is for NFL players to pick up offense and then go execute said offense.
Accurate, Ant. They do. Offense is not, especially at this level.
Yeah.
It isn't easy. If you hear some of the calls and terminology and how long some of the play calls are, try learning all of that verbiage, understanding it, knowing it like the back of your hand, and then being able to repeat it to everybody. And then also knowing what that means for everybody, what everyone's job is based on that verbiage. Because when you're a quarterback, that is your responsibility. It's not just knowing the verbiage. It's knowing what that verbiage relates to, what it means, who's responsible for what because of what you just said or what the coach relayed to you. And then being able to decipher all of that, in a very short amount of time and be able to execute at a high level. Not easy.
No, every other player comes in, listens for certain specific things, that means something for them, and they go out and do it
later.
The quarterback has to not only listen to it in his helmet, then speak it to everyone else in a clear way that everyone can understand.
But Ant, he's got the wristband. It's fine. He can just read the wristband.
Yeah, he can read the wristband, all right, but then he's got to actually know where everyone's lining up, where everyone's going to be, and not just where they're supposed to be on the play, but by what coverage. If it's zone coverage, they're going to be in one spot. If it's man coverage, they're going to be somewhere else. Everything is so complicated. It's all on the fly.
If it's cover 2, that route may sit down in this window. Yep. If it's cover 3, it may be over here. If it's cover 4, I may not even be able to go there. I just need to look there, draw some attention, and go somewhere else.
And there could be choice routes. So, you got to know by leverage what they're going to do. There's a lot of complications that go into this. These quarterbacks are learning it. I mean, extremely, extremely hard stuff. I mean, this is crazy how smart these guys actually are and how they're able to decipher things so quickly.
Absolutely.
I have so much respect for them and what they do, and that's why I don't want to harp on any of them, especially Trey, a young kid that's figuring all this thing out. The fact that he's done as well as he's done with all the information that he's done is impressive, and I look forward to his growth as we continue. But it also is another reason why I respect Jimmy Garoppolo, because he's able to operate this offense when he's healthy at a high level.
Absolutely.
So let's see how they respond. But yeah, I think a lot of times it just gets glossed over, and people don't understand what it actually takes to be an NFL football player day to day.
Absolutely, man. They just want to make funny quips when they do film breakdowns and just talk sarcastically and snarky. And hey, you know what? You do you, guy.
100%.
We're gonna continue to do us. We're gonna continue to break down and dive into these all 22 film previews over on Patreon too. So hop on over there if you want a deep dive look. You want some deep analysis of what the 49ers are doing or what your opponents are doing. We got a game preview coming out this weekend you don't want to miss for the Colts. Or if you just want to shut us up and watch the all 22 film all by your lonesome and not have to pay outrageous amounts of money to the NFL Game Pass people over there, and that's a-okay too. You can do that as well. Hop on over to Patreon.
Yeah, you can do it. It's a little bit cheaper, and you can just mute us.
Accurate.
But if you want to hear insight, do that. And then if you have questions that you want us to answer during these breakdowns, shoot us over the questions so we can answer them during the breakdowns and let us know. If you let us know earlier in the week, we can definitely get to it because these videos come out later. So it's important if you want to have those questions. We want to have that conversation with you because it's all about getting better, not just knowing 49ers football, but learning football in general. I think we all learn every single day. I learned a long time ago. I'm never going to understand everything about football. I'm just going to have to keep learning, keep consuming, and hope that I can understand, most of it because there's so many complex schemes and so many things go into it. And just when you think you got something figured out, somebody comes through with something else that revolutionizes everything. So it's always going to change, and it's exciting. And anyone that thinks they have all the answers, they're wrong, and they're already on their way to defeat. They just don't know it yet.
They just don't know yet, but they'll find out soon enough, and they'll find out soon enough. Shout out to the GO tier members over on Patreon as well. We love y'all. We appreciate your guys' incredible support for this podcast and the Cutback crew. Everyone who's subscribed, liking the videos, commenting down below. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for the support. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that notification bell, share it too with the rest of the faithful. Let them know they can find this great content here, in-depth looks at the 49ers, whether it's a daily update and game simulations, which we're having a good time, all 22 film breakdowns or game previews. You got tons of great content, tons of ways to engage with this crew, with the community, right? And with the 49ers faithful. It's a good time over here.
It really is. And over on Patreon, you can go get Big Yikes or 49ers Cutback in Time. Big Yikes, you're going to laugh it up. 49ers Cutback in Time, you're going to relive some great and controversial moments in 49ers history. Some of them that, maybe you've never heard before, so it's exciting. Get into it. But there's a lot of cool stuff over there as well, Madden and fantasy stuff as well. So if you're into that kind of stuff, hop over to Patreon and check it out. If you're not, stay right here on YouTube. Enjoy, what's getting put out. Comment, interact. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely. We want to hear from you, Cutback crew. We want to hear from you, 49ers faithful. It's an exciting week. We got a lot of great stuff still to come. And until the next one, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.